Hello friends, in today's video we are taking information about Kolkata's black hole tragedy. By the end of 17th century, effective power in the Mughal Empire had fallen into the hands of Nawabs or provincial governors, while the British and the French were building up their competing commercial empires in India. The British had established a port and trading base at Calcutta in the 1690s and built Fort William to guard it. Some years later, they began to strengthen the defense against the French. This appended the new Nawab of Bengal, Siraj ud Dowlah, who succeeded his grandfather in the capital of Murshidabad when he was in his 20s in 1756. He sent orders to the governor of Calcutta to stop the work on the fortification, and when the British took no notice, the Nawab marched on Calcutta with massive army, said to have numbered 50,000 men, with 500 elephants and 50 cannon. The army arrived on June 16th and began to move slowly through the outlying areas of Calcutta. Overwhelming all resistance, the governor and many of his staff and the British residents ran for safety to the ships in the harbour, leaving women and children behind and garrison of only 170 English soldiers to defend the fort. Under the command of John Zephaniah Holwell, who was the company's zemindar responsible for tax collection and keeping law and order. There were no mortars in the fort, but much of the powder was too damp to use, and the grape shoots had mostly been eaten by worms while in storage. Siraj's final attack in force came on the morning of the June 20th, a Sunday. Holwell had no military experience. The situation was hopeless in any case, and by the afternoon he was forced to surrender in return for what he thought was a guarantee of quarter. That night, as he recorded, there occurred a horror which became a legend in the history of the Raj. A total of 146 British prisoners, including 2 women and several wounded men, and Holwell himself, were herded at Sword Point for the night into the fort's black hole, a little lockup the British had built for minor offenders. It measured only 18 feet by 14 feet 10 inch and had 2 small windows. The heat at that time of year was suffocating, and the prisoners trampled on each other to get near the windows and fought over the small supply of water they had been left, while begging for mercy from the guards, who laughed and jeered at them while they prayed and raved in vain. At 6 a.m. the next morning, when the door was unlocked, the corpses were filed by inside and only 23 of the prisoners were still alive. A pit was hastily dug for the dead and the bodies were dumped in it. Holwell referred to the experience as Night of Horrors. I will not attempt to describe, as they bar all description, which did not prevent him describing them at length and in detail after his return to England the following year, in a genuine narrative of the deplorable deaths of the English gentlemen and others who were suffocated in the black hole. In the majestic prose of Macaulay's essay on Clive of India, based on Holwell's account, the story inspired patriotic fervor and rage at Indian perfidy in generation of Britons. It has long been clear that Holwell's figures were exaggerated. According to a calculation by Professor Brijen Gupta in the 1950, the total of prisoners shut in the black hole was probably 64, of whom 21 came out alive. He also produced evidence that Siraj-ud-Dowlah did not order the prisoners to be shut in the black hole and knew nothing about it until afterwards. Vengeance was swift. Robert Clive marched on Calcutta and set siege to Fort William, which was also bombarded by an accompanying fleet of warships under Admiral Charles Watson. The fort fell to the British in January 1757, and in February, with an army of mere 3,000 men, Clive routed Siraj's army of perhaps 50,000 with their cannon and war elephants at Plassey. Siraj fled to Murshidabad. Where he was killed by his own people and his body thrown into the river. So friends, this is a tragic incident in the history which is known the Calcutta Black Hole of Calcutta. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned.